This windshield washer anti-reverse flow valve, also called a check valve, has failed. I've tested it by disconnecting it, and it's definitely the failure point. The nozzles, that's the underside of the passenger side and the underside of the driver's side, were also tested and they spray perfectly well. So on we go with addressing this. This under hood insulator was held in place by 5 or 6 pins or clips of this nature. These, in my opinion, should be looked at as sacrificial, and the way I would take them off next time is I would use leather gloves to hold them steady while they're in place, and I would actually cut the wings off, at least 2 of them, and then the third one I would bend it down using needle nose pliers and pull the insulation away from underneath the hood, because the insulation itself is several $100s to replace, and it's easily damaged if you use a prying tool to try to pull these pins out. It's just material that's just too fragile. So I would protect this by, like I said, sacrificing the pins. The pins are very cheap, $20 for about 6 to 8 bucks. 20 pieces for about 6 to 8 bucks. Additionally, I am not going to replace this more complicated check valve with an identical one. I am going to actually use a single as opposed to one of these doubles, and I'm going to situate it down here in this area, because this is not covered up by the insulation, and this way I can replace it without pulling the insulation down next time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little Y connector in place over here. Using a scissor, I just made a snip a few inches above this connector, and now I'm going to pop in my check valve, or my anti-reverse flow valve. Alright, this is a Y valve that I'm going to place where the old, more complicated check valve is right now. So here you can see the Y connector put in place, and what I chose to do was, it looks like a lowercase y, so I used the straight piece to go to the longer piece of tubing, which connects to the driver's side, and I connected the shorter piece, the offshoot, from the main trunk to this shorter line, which connects to the passenger side nozzle. Okay, now I'm about to test the spray with the new piece in place. And that's nice. Looks pretty even. I'm content. I'm going to reinstall the insulation into the under hood position now. So in my case, there's little pieces that protrude into slots, and that's the initial hold, and then you got a bunch of these push pin or clip locations, and like I said, there's 5 or 6 of those. So just give me a second and I'll demo those. Alright, so here we have one of those push-in clips. You can see they just will be pushed through the hole in the insulation and into the receptacle hole, and the way they're engineered, they'll just expand once inside the hole in the hood. So here we go. So there's through there. And let's see if I can line it up. Yeah, it feels lined up. And there it is, pushed in place. Like I said, in the future, I would cut these wings off with a razor knife or maybe even a Dremel tool. I'd cut the wings off in order to draw the insulation down over the remaining trunk that would be visible, instead of fighting and tearing up the soft insulation material. So I'll push 4 or 5 more of those pins into place and it'll all be done. The whole job of replacing that more complicated and, in my opinion, unnecessary check valve. Not that a check valve is unnecessary, but the more complicated type. The single unit that doesn't have the kind of a fork. Just a single unit. And now I can replace this in the future without taking this insulation down, which is certainly going to be nicer. And that's it. Okay, it looks like it took about 7 total of those push pins, and you can see here and there, you see my supply line right here with my check valve, and that's the end of this little fix.